It's pretty clear that the theme of The Lion King isn't Hakuna Matata. We talked about it in the last video, but I think the movie is saying something really important with that. Simba's story doesn't end after he runs away, and I think the writers are trying to tell us that ours doesn't either.
There are plenty of things that are difficult to face in life. Mistakes we made, or trauma that's happened to us. But the story of those experiences, your story, doesn't end when you run away from them. Ignoring them doesn't mean you'll have no worries for the rest of your days. In fact, not dealing with those experiences leaves you in a state of cognitive dissonance, which then can lead to traumatic psychological developments. If you want to flourish as a person, you have to face those things, because ignoring them makes a boring story. And growth starts with confronting your experiences and naming them, and then taking responsibility for them.
Simba tried his absolute hardest to get away from his past, but it still eventually caught up to him.
Scar told us about the stampede.
He did? What else did he tell you?
What else matters? You're alive. And that means you're the king.
He comes to realize that his actions, even his running away and avoiding action, had consequences.
Everything's destroyed. There's no food, no water. Simba, if you don't do something soon, everyone will starve.
This entire film points to taking responsibility. When Scar is king and the hyenas try to approach him about how there's no food or water, he tries to blame it on the lionesses.
And instead of rising to the occasion, he harshes everyone's bellow when the hyenas point out that he doesn't even come close to filling the paws of his older brother. So how does one come to learn that they need to accept responsibility?
First, you have to understand that you are capable, even if you don't feel like you are. Simba runs away because he doesn't feel like he's equipped to navigate the situation at hand. It's understandable, right? He was a kid at that point. He was just faced with so much complexity, and he didn't have a way to maturely process the situation. So understandably, he accepts the first solution that is presented to him. As he has time to process it, he realizes that there's so much at stake for him, especially being the future king. He ultimately thinks everyone will be better off without him. But it's Rafiki's swift hit to the head and Mufasa's spirit guide that reminds Simba that he is capable.
Simba is more than the label king. Like you. You're more than your job title, more than the role you assume in your family, more than the mistakes you've made, the pain you've been dealt, more than the applause you've received.
There is something so specific about you. Something that makes you the individual little human being that you are. Something that gives you value and pushes you toward your purpose in affecting the rest of humanity.
You have to intimately find the source of your value, and then remember it when you start looking for it elsewhere. No one else can uncover that for you.
Secondly, you have to understand what you need to do, and that you probably already have what you need.
You must take your place in the circle of life.
How can I go back? I'm not who I used to be.
Remember who you are.
Your identity, who you are, defines your purpose, which bestows the responsibility that you have in this life. It's up to you to rise to the occasion.
One of my favorite lines from the whole film is when Rafiki says,
"Oh yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it."
Interestingly, this line is not in the original script, but they must have found it necessary to really drive home the theme. At first, Simba ran away from his past, but Mufasa taught him that the kings of the past are there watching over him to keep him accountable and to learn from their mistakes and successes. What are the kings of the past for you? For me, the kings of my past are people I look up to and aspire to be like, people who have made mistakes before me that I can learn from, my upbringing and how I choose to let it affect me today, my own fears and mistakes, and experiences that have caused me pain. So once Simba can face his past, he can learn from his own mistakes as well as lessons learned from the kings before him. He now knows what he needs to do.
What makes this story amazing is that Simba knows it isn't going to be easy, but he goes back and faces everyone from his past anyway. On the other hand, Scar shows us what happens when you can't face the truth. He doesn't own up to what he did and tries to run away, meeting his ultimate demise.
Finally, after understanding that you're capable, that you have what you need and you know what you need to do, it's time to take action.
Whether or not Simba was actually responsible isn't the point of the film. The point is that Simba believed that he was responsible for his father's death, and he chose to go back and face the heat anyways. He was ready to go back and face his family. He was ready to go back and face the potential shaming and disowning. He was ready to take up his place as king. And he didn't let going down one path already stop him from making an about-face and going in the direction that he knew in his heart of hearts was the right one. So if you've been hung up on, well, his dad's death isn't actually his fault, so that's not totally relatable to taking responsibility for my actions, that's a myopic way of viewing the theme of the story. Because owning up to something and taking responsibility for anything is hard, and that's relatable. Looking inward and facing the demons of your past is a noble thing to do, and completely worthwhile.
I think the reason we can connect so well to Simba is because we all have responsibility in some form or fashion. And it's important to take that seriously and not feel sorry for ourselves or try to avoid it. Because the long-term ramifications will likely not only affect you, but also those you care about, which affects those they care about, which affects those they care about, and so on until you see how your actions are interconnected with the direction of the whole human project at large. The armature of this film is you must take responsibility for your past and learn from it. Know that there are a lot of things that are out of your control, but you don't have to be a victim to your past. You are completely capable to face the difficult things in your life, your own pain or mistakes, to change your own mind and remember who you are, and to take responsibility for what you do have control over. Do you think anything differently about what the theme of The Lion King is?
Because if you agree with us that that is the theme, what are you going to do about it? Like, do you have any pain, fear, regrets, any of that you're mentally running away from? Because if you do, well, you can either be like Simba or Scar. I'm going to be like Scar personally. I'm just gonna bury it down deep.
Conceal, don't feel. Hey, there's a comment section below. Comment, tell us what you think. We want to know.
Or if you like longer conversation, or you're a writer and just want to bounce some ideas off of other people who like stories, head to our old Discord, fun little place.
Little community.
Yeah.
And if you find this content valuable and you would like to help us to continue to do this long term, then support us on Patreon.
And lastly, if you're not tired of story-themed content, go check out a podcast of me and my friends called Theme Team. Link in description. Bye.
Bye.
This video was produced by, as always, Frozen was actually a genius movie. More on that next week. Ooh, little spoiler. Connor Fitzer, David M., Matt Laskowski, Rockfax, Clownhound. New patron here from Clive Staples, C.S. Lewis himself. Honored, to say the least. My goodness. Rachel Stephen, Caitlin Taylor, Miley Greenwell, Scott Zenteno, Richard Roberts, Pickle Princess, Andy S., and Kyle M. Martin. And truly, thank you to all of you. It's dumbfounding to see so many people come together about ideas that obviously we all care about. So that gets me excited. Okay, bye.